Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Hello, thank you so much for joining us. Here is Cornell Jermaine, your host. I appreciate you listening and tuning in. Listen, we have a special episode for you. It's our Fashion Forward Friday Flashback. Yes. We are talking all things pop culture, beauty, and entertainment. You'll laugh, you'll think, and it'll be just amazing. So I want you to tune in and just listen to what we've been doing on broadcast media. In this particular episode, we interview actor, author, and activist, Mr. Hill Harper, who is spearheading an initiative to help the victims of the Flint water crisis. If you know anyone who is affected by that, please give them the information that you hear in this interview. He is actively, and I had a chance to speak with him at an event. He is actively working on getting justice for these individuals. So anybody that you may know, that you may think, whether it's been their domestic living, their business, whatever their organization, anybody who has been affected in any kind of way, get them this information so they can see justice for their families, their businesses, etc. So that's all I have for you today. Listen in, tune in. It's Fashion Forward Friday Flashback on WPZR Praise 102.7.
It's Fashion Forward Friday on The Mildred Gaddis Show with the latest in beauty, hair, and fashion trends. Featuring special guest, clothing designer Keisha Sims of Keyside Collections and beautypreneur Cornell Jermaine of Cornell Jermaine International. This is Fashion Forward Friday.
Now that's when you know that you have arrived. Truly arrived. Did you all hear that professional?
Yes, my boy Gary.
New York Hollywood intro. Did you all hear that? I love it. Listen, welcome to the Mildred Gaddis Show. It is Fashion Forward Friday with Keisha and Cornell. I want to play something for you guys, and I don't know if you've heard it. I don't know if you've seen it, and it's being done by one of my favorite people. Cornell, you really like her. I don't know what Keisha thinks about her.
Absolutely love her.
Oh, okay,
Since
good.
A different world. I've been a fan.
Okay, cool. All right, are we going to play this?
Our children shouldn't have to run from bullets. They should never, ever even see a gun. They should be somewhere having fun, but our children shouldn't have to run from bullets. Our children shouldn't have to run from bullets. America, shame. America, you gotta change.
Now that's actress Jennifer Lewis, who I think is just phenomenal.
She got something there.
I saw that when she did it. She posted it on Instagram. And first of all, would you agree that she has a voice?
Oh my God, she has a
kind
voice.
Kind of reminds me of the Gladys Knight, raspy, But anyway, her message is so potent.
She has, that's a song.
It is.
As a songwriter, I can hear that. I want her to flush that out, or maybe we can get together. I don't know, Jennifer, y'all call me, call my people. But I'm just saying, that's a song right there. You hear the chords.
Yeah. Have your people call
Right.
so that we can get together,
that
right?
could be the new, I believe the children are our future.
Yeah, because the chords are,
exactly.
You can feel all the emotion, you know what I'm saying? And she had a good lyric just in that, but I love it. I think she's phenomenal. I didn't know she did, and I think that's where that musical, she did Broadway
yes, she did.
A lot. I didn't know that, so I'm excited.
What can she do, though?
I know, right? I know. And bipolar, that's why I'm saying all y'all, as we speaking of running from bullets, with the Florida mass shooting, I don't even know where to go with it, but they're saying they're mental abuse. I'm saying she's one who's dealt with it and is still sane, successful.
And turned it to a positive.
Positive.
Yes.
So all of this mental excuses.
No excuses.
You know what I'm
No
saying?
excuses.
It's no excuse. Now,
It's unacceptable.
I do believe that we could use a little more assistance.
Absolutely.
You know, from our government in that area. And just in the knowledge, because people don't know how to deal with
Right.
family members and even themselves. Some people refuse medication.
Exactly.
And they know they should be on it.
But
Some
let's
people are
admit-
not on medication and need to
and
be
need
on
to
it.
be on it.
And don't know
We
they need
at
to be.
least three. But let's be honest. In our day and society, all of us have a little bit of mental issues.
Yeah, it's
so
just
that's
the
not
culture.
a platform
Not at all.
to excuse what is being done nowadays.
Not at all. Not at all. So they're saying that this is the deadliest high school shooting in American history.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
let
huge.
me just tell you this. In Washington, a grandmother, and for all of you parents out there who think that you should not be going through your children's, all that stuff's stupid to me. Because
Yeah.
if you're paying bills and taking care of folk,
You don't have a lot
there's
more.
nothing in your
That's right.
home that should be off limits to you as a
That's
parent.
right.
A grandmother in Washington was looking through her grandson's journal on Monday. And in this journal, he said, I can't wait to go to school and kill all those effers. He said, I finally have my aim perfected.
What?
Wow.
The grandmother called police. He's 18 years old. He's been arrested and charged with attempted murder. And he has a $15 million bond? No, it's a $5 million bond. He was getting ready.
Oh, my goodness.
So this grandmother, thank God, she went through his journal. She saw this. But let's talk about Florida for a minute. And I know this is Fashion Forward Friday, but let's talk about it for just a minute. A man in Mississippi was on YouTube last year. He saw the 19-year-old Floridian who killed those 17 people say that he had the firepower and that he was going to go to school and kill all these people. 36-year-old man in Mississippi. He notified the FBI. The FBI never notified the local authorities in Florida, and the FBI never acted on it and acknowledged today they did get the tip. That the man did inform them last year that you have a killer in the making here who's promising on YouTube that he's going to go to the school and murder a lot of people.
Wow.
So,
So we have a
been
suit.
prevented.
It could have been prevented.
It could have been
Absolutely.
prevented. Now it's suing the FBI and winning. That's another thing under this Trump administration with these judges that.
Right.
But the FBI did not act on that tip.
That's terrible.
The man who is a video blogger, and that's how he came across it on YouTube. The FBI never acted on it.
They can't take these things lightly.
So want to share that with
they-
you, and wanted to share the Jennifer Lewis piece. And someone said to me this morning, I wonder how people feel about the fact that when she takes to Instagram and she does these things, she's in that robe and her turban.
She don't care, does she?
And then they said, well, I wonder what Cornell and Keisha thinks about that.
You know what? I
It's
think
her home.
Yeah, it's her home, and I just love Jennifer. So she
do
don't do
too. She
nothing
gets a
wrong about.
pass.
She gets a
She
pass.
gets
She's
a
I was going to say, some folk get a pass.
she get a
don't
pass. She's everybody's mama and
gets
auntie.
a
So
And you know what? Can you imagine? I wanted to know. She has one child.
does she?
She has a daughter named Charmaine Lewis.
Okay.
But what I want, it must have been hilarious growing up in her house.
Had to be.
It had to be.
Had to be.
I
Well-
mean, and I think she was probably a no nonsense mom as well.
I can believe that.
Can you believe
I
that?
can believe
I
that.
mean, that's her personality.
It seems her roles just seem so natural.
Right.
I would be shocked to know
And
that.
she's great in every role.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been a fan of hers since Different World, when she was the dean on Different World. And
Oh,
it just seems like every character matches her.
Yeah.
I guess that
And
goes
you know
with
what?
the-
You know what else? And no matter where she is or what she's doing, she always has class.
Yeah, very classy.
She always has class.
She's I didn't even realize she was in the Black. I haven't really watched Blackish, but I didn't realize she was the
You know
grandmother
what? I
in
haven't
Blackish.
watched Blackish either.
But they played that clip at the event last week.
Was that not hilarious?
That was hilarious. She is hilarious.
You know, and I need to take a minute here, and we need because Cornell did attend the General Motors African American
Ancestry Network.
Yes. And it was wonderful. The video,
Absolutely.
the way they did that video, where Michael Ellison. A lot of people around Detroit know Michael. Michael's an actor. Michael's done some rapping. Michael's done some great work. And they performed, he and his group performed, but they decided that they would add a video. And in that video, there were powerful, historic black women who had made an impact on the quality of lives. And I got to tell you, I almost passed out on the floor when my picture was included.
Yeah.
But Aretha Franklin was included, Rosa Parks, Mrs. Rosa, just so many wonderful women. And Michael did not want anybody in that audience to not understand that it's because of black women who have carried our race and nurtured our race that all of us are where we are and able to have access that we do in this country. I thought that was very
It was. And he asked all of the men in the room to stand during the tribute. So it was very, very heartfelt.
It really was.
It was.
It really
and I
was.
saw Mildred's picture. I said, look at Mildred.
Right.
But why wouldn't it be?
I know, right?
I was like, just sneak that one in.
I got to remind her sometimes. I'll be like, well, you got to be out here with your crew. Where your entourage at? You out here all solo, just chilling.
But
she was a woman of the community.
Absolutely.
And I told Michael that I was going to make sure that Aretha got that information, that she was included in, and of course she should be, in the lineup of women. But it was a great event. What did you think?
I think it was amazing. It was great.
I didn't know the organization existed.
No, I had heard, but I never.
G-Man is what they call it.
G-Man. Yeah.
Say the organization again.
It's General Motors African Ancestry Network.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. And they've been doing this for a while. I understand because I saw the lineup. They've honored several people.
Yeah, I think it's about 7 years. Wow. And I also received an award that evening. So, and I was the MC. That was funny. I was invited to be the MC, and I had no idea. But anyway, it was a great event.
It was.
Moving on. What do you got for us today?
It's Fashion Forward Friday, but we cover all things beauty, culture, and entertainment. And I've got to talk about Matthew Knowles' statement regarding colorism in entertainment. He has a new book, Racism Through the Eyes of a Child, and he talks about how he was shaped, I guess, by his upbringing to prefer the lighter skin over the darker. And he said that has also transitioned into our industries, i.e. entertainment. I had never really thought of it, but he said specifically when it comes to black females who are the people who get their music played on pop radio, Mariah Carey, Rihanna, the female rapper, Nicki Minaj, and my kids, Beyonce and Solange. And he said, what do they all have in common? They are lighter skinned. I had never thought about that.
Where has he been?
You talking about where have I been?
No, where has Matthew Knowles been?
Right now, but he's a teacher. He's a professor at Texas Southern.
I didn't know that.
He still has.
Alma mater.
Really?
I didn't know he was a professor at TSU.
Yep, he's a TSU professor, and he has. I think he still has his music management company.
Let me just tell you something. I guess at this point, and he's old enough to know, fair-skinned black women have always had greater access to everything in this country. Even during this phase where dark-skinned black women have been able to get movie roles and all of that, fair-skinned black women still have access. Now, some of them who haven't been getting the roles are a little bit miffed now because darker-skinned women are getting the roles.
Right.
But let me just ask you this. If you brought 10 professional athletes in this room and their mates.
Yeah.
8.5 out of the 10 would have a fair-skinned woman.
That's true.
If you went to Hollywood, and you lined up 10 black male actors, and you brought them and their mates in the studio, 7 of them would be fair-skinned women.
Yep, that's true.
Now let's move over to the professional athletes. Same thing.
Yep.
The numbers will probably even be higher.
Yeah.
They choose not to have dark-skinned black women.
And he mentioned that in the book. He says this, and I quote, he says, when I was growing up, my mother used to say, don't ever bring a nappy-head black girl to my house. In the Deep South, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the shade of the blackness was considered important. And then he goes on to talk about what he's coined, or I guess it may be a medical term, eroticized rage. And he says, I talk about going to therapy and sharing one day how I had a breakthrough that I used to date white women or high-complected black women, and it was basically his way of getting back or getting even.
I was just getting ready to say.
And for a lot of black, one of the worst interviews I've ever had in 42 years of being a journalist was Fred Williamson. And I was a young journalist I was a younger journalist then, and that was in Houston, Texas. That was the most disgusting, distasteful interview I'd ever done. He spent the time telling me that he had not been as successful in Hollywood as he should have been because white men were fearful of him and white women. He spent the whole piece talking about that. And TV One has done an unsung piece on him, but that's been his choice. That has been his choice. And unfortunately, there are black boys who are growing up and they're seeing that same thing, and they're making the same choice.
Yeah.
They're making the same choice.
I was going to ask if in his book there was any self-reflection, because you notice who he married.
Yeah. Oh, he said he thought she was white. You talking about Tina? Yeah, he said he thought she was white when he first met her.
Wow.
So ideally, he was attracted because of this skin color, and I guess, but he did make mention that she was very much in tune with her black roots.
Because
you know what I'm saying?
She has some kind of French.
I think they have French Creole in their background.
So I was wondering if he
so
noticed that within him.
he identifies that.
But let me just tell you something too. There are black women who don't want to date. They've got the same disease, the same ignorance, who won't date dark-skinned black men unless, they're high financial achievers. Somehow they don't want to have children with a dark-skinned black man. And some of them will talk about it. Some of them won't. But that kind of ignorance permeates throughout our race. But it's real dominant with black men, specifically high-achieving black men. Just start look when you go out, and black women who listen to this show will tell you the same thing. Go to a dinner. Go to a dinner where high-achieving black men are there, and look at who's on their arm and what they look like.
You see a lot of Tinas, huh?
Yeah, and Becky's. Look,
it's an ignorance, but every now and then somebody breaks through. Some dark-skinned person breaks through who is so doggone phenomenal that you got to give it to them.
Like Lupita.
All
these people.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it.
No.
There's nothing you can do about it.
But
doesn't that reflect back to
that's the plantation
the concept? The plantation mentality.
It's the plantation mentality.
Yeah.
And you have, but here's what black parents need to understand, is that you don't help your children, you harm your children when you continue to deliver that kind of madness, because some of the children who are fair-skinned, they go out into the world because of the way their parents have treated them, thinking that the world is going to treat them the same way.
Yep, that's true.
And the world could care less.
That's right.
Okay, but they come out with these superior attitudes, and many times they're underperformers, and they get their hearts broken.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's just put it for the record, as a beauty professional, you don't sleep on the dark skin, just because 20, 30, 40 years from now, you're gonna be looking at a prune, and that dark skin woman's still gonna have that clear, tight, taunt. You understand? Because the more melanin you have, it's a proven fact. It's a proven fact.
But you know what? I'm not impressed with him and what he's had to say at all.
No.
Yeah.
The heck no. I'm not thinking about that foolishness. I'm just
Mildred.
I mean, seriously. I mean, who really cares? Here's a man who betrayed his wife. He successfully groomed some talented children. You can't take that away from him. And was he not still with his wife when he went out and got this baby by this woman?
Alleged. I don't know. I'm gonna just say that because I don't know.
No, he was Cornell.
Mildred gonna come with the facts. She gonna find the facts before we get off this show.
Journalism.
And then wait a minute. And then he gets mad because the industry sort of turns on him.
Yeah.
Ooh, didn't it turn?
Okay.
Ooh. Well,
so now he's trying to become.
His daughter did a little bit too. So they kind of follow suit with her.
Absolutely. And so now he wants to become relevant again. That's all this is about.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I'm not reading a
You ain't read it. You ain't going to the signing.
Next.
Well, here's something you might be interested in hearing. Mr. Quincy Jones had a lot to say to Vulture.
Quincy Jones has lost his mind. Quincy Jones has lost his mind.
Quincy Jones said, I ain't scared. Do you hear me?
Quincy said, I may be 84, but I know what I'm talking about.
He read everybody. He read everybody. I can't, we got to talk about
what are
it.
your thoughts on it, though, Cornell?
I think it was a little too much. I don't think he should have.
I don't either.
I think it's the way he said it.
Yeah.
I think that it's the way he said it.
Well,
Go
he
ahead.
said it that way because he is Quincy Jones. So
but then, did that make it right? And then he's talking about folks who left a legacy.
Yeah.
If they didn't tell, you tarnishing.
So who's to say that when
But you know something, though? Wait. Now, some legacies you leave alone.
Absolutely.
But some people, you just are. If you're asked a question, you either say, well, you know what, I don't want to comment on that. You know? These are people some of them, he's made money with them.
Yep.
They've done great work together. And I do believe there's something called loyalty.
That's right.
Yes.
You know, I really do believe there's
even
something.
in the grave.
Now, there are some things he didn't touch, which leaves me in that gray area. Like, why did you choose to speak on this one and not that one? Cosby, he didn't touch that one because that was brought up. He didn't touch the Clintons because he's supposed to be good friends with them. The interviewer asked about the Clintons. He wouldn't touch it. He wouldn't touch.
So he didn't deal with the live folks.
Right. But he read Marlon Brando. He read Michael Jackson. I mean, he said Michael Jackson.
Marlon Brando was supposed to be a homosexual. I didn't know that.
Either. And then he read Marvin Gaye. You gonna ruin Marvin Gaye, the ladies' man. You gonna put his business up?
Well, let me just tell you, the Marvin Gaye stuff wasn't really a secret.
What?
But the Richard Pryor thing, we're gonna. I've been telling you all about this town hall meeting in Flint Sunday. Cornell and I were just talking about actor, author, and philanthropist Hill Harper, who's also an attorney, by the way, who's hosting this Flint town hall meeting. He's on the line with us this morning. Good morning, Hill Harper.
Good morning. Good morning.
Well, thank you very much. Good to talk with you. Looking forward to seeing you Sunday. I've been telling the listeners about this Flint town hall meeting. It's really sort of tragic that here we are in 2018 and we still got people who have been impacted by environmental racism and who've not been able to get the kind of assistance they were supposed to get so that we can save these children. They're now they released a report earlier this week saying that the children who are the victims of the lead poisoning, third graders are reading below third grade level. There's so much to pull in here. I know we only have a few minutes, but tell our listeners about Sunday's town hall meeting and why you want them to come.
Well, Sunday's town hall meeting is critical. So if anyone, if you're listening out there and you know anyone has been impacted in any way by this water crisis, and when I say in any way, obviously the horrendous effects that you just mentioned about lead poisoning and with children and adults, but moreover the economic impact as well, because you're talking about folks work years and years and years to purchase a home, to be there, and to have a water crisis impact your value of the house that you worked for. I mean, that's one thing. Even if your water was clear, the value of your water, there's so many different ancillary impacts and also so much misinformation and lies that are floating around. What we're trying to battle is that the state is attempting to close out the class action. They're attempting to push the judge to close out the group because they've realized that so few people have signed up. You're talking about 30,000, 40,000 eligible people, and it's an extremely low number that have signed up. And what folks have to realize is that if they don't become a part of this class action, then their ability to receive any remuneration, anything for the harm that's been caused will, ceases to exist. And they're trying to close the group very fast. So this is the time when we're at that critical juncture. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror when I was presented with all this data and say, once this class closes, there's nothing you can do. Literally nothing, and there's nothing I could do, nothing anybody could do. And so, with my law background, I said, I have to form a legal action group because there's three different ways you can fight folks who do extreme wrong. Right? You can fight them with your vote. You can fight them with economic impact, and figuring out ways to make sure that their businesses or their entities are impacted, and they have to pay. Or you fight them in the courts, and we need to fight folks in the courts. This has been a power move where if we don't do this, now watch this, if we don't do this, Mildred, what's going to happen is that it reinforces the idea that if you're a powerful entity, whether it's a government or a corporation, you can completely mistreat individuals and have virtually no consequence. We have to make folks, we have to make them pay. And at the end of the day, and I hate to say it so bluntly, because there are many families out there that, like you just said, have children that are going to have lifelong impacts, and there's a cost associated with that. There are businesses and entities. Another thing people don't realize: churches, businesses can all sign into the class action. You do not need to be an individual. If you own a business, if you are an organization, a church, you can sign as an individual. You can also sign as an organization, as an entity. This is critical. We're going to talk about all the issues, but also we're going to really focus on this class action, because once the class closes, that's it. And you can't get in it. You can't sign. And they're trying to close it quickly.
And so, listeners, you have to move with all deliberate speed. A lot of people have felt intimidated by this process. You just didn't know what to do. You didn't know if you had options. You need to show up Sunday, 2 o'clock at the Metropolitan Baptist Tabernacle Church for this town hall meeting. The clock is ticking. And once the door closes, there is no reopening of the door.
There is none. And you want to talk about the shame of it all. If it's all of us at the end of this, as long as it's taken, and there's so much lies and misinformation, it's, so much passing of the buck. If we look back and we say, these people got away with murder, so to speak. They knew what they were doing. They knew what it was happening. They knew what was going on. There's plenty of data that shows that they knew. And we literally did not make them pay. There was no consequence. And basically it reinforces the idea that if you're black or brown, if you're poor, if you're from communities that have been already hard hit, then you can be stepped upon, taken advantage of, as you mentioned, environmental racism, down the line, and that you don't matter. And we have to show and push back as hard as we can. And there's many different ways to do it. I'm not saying the court system is the only way, but it's just one way. And we're going to lose this one way if folks don't sign up. And the other thing is that it's many of our folks aren't signed up. So out of the people that are signed up at this point, a lot of folks, I understand that there's a lot of mistrust, and you don't know who to trust, and you don't want to do paperwork, and you're like, some people think it's a psychological thing, a victimhood mentality of, bad things happen to me that consistently happen to me and my family. There's nobody's responsible for it but me. It's not true. You're not responsible for this harm. Somebody else is responsible. Don't act like you're responsible. You have to go after them. You have to go after them.
All right. Anything else you want to leave with our listeners, Hill Harper?
I think that's it. I'm excited to be there. We're going to talk about all the different issues, and I'm excited to be in town on Sunday. And here's the important thing is, if you've been directly impacted, please come. But moreover, there's so many people that may not be listening right now. If you know anyone, if you have their email addresses, email them, let them know about this. And I'll tell you, for those of you that can't come at all, like you're working, there's no way you can come, you can go to flintclaimcenter.com. flintclaimcenter.com. But the thing is that I'm saying this at the end because what I found is historically is that you give an address or a site, people go, they check it out, and they actually don't do anything, And so you got to be there. I really don't want you to take the easy way out and say, oh, okay, Hill, I'm not going to show up. I'm just going to go to flintclaimcenter.com. And then you go there, you don't do anything, and it's just the same result. So if you absolutely can't come, go to flintclaimcenter.com. But please come. It's important, and encourage other folks who are not listening to come.
Absolutely. It'll be on the Mildred Gaddis show Facebook page, people. We will continue throughout the morning to inform you of this address. That's why I asked you at the beginning of the show to get your pads and your pens ready. This is the time to ask the questions, and no question is a bad question. You will not be in an environment where you will feel intimidated. It'll be very nurturing, and people are there to help you. So make sure you show up. Harper is going to be there. He's hosting this town hall meeting 2 o'clock Sunday at the Metropolitan Baptist Tabernacle Church, 930 East Myrtle Avenue in Flint, Michigan. Thank you so much, Harper.
Thank you so much. And one more thing, we're even going to have food. So I know we're being very serious on this call, but we're even going to, even if you're just hungry, come out and get some food. It'll be a nice afternoon.
All right, Harper. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now back to Fashion Forward Friday on the Mildred Gaddis Show.
Welcome back, and I want to thank our listeners who are listening to the show on Facebook Live. Lisa Hicks wanted to remind us that there are some beautiful dark-skinned black couples, Samuel Jackson and his wife, Denzel Washington, Courtney B. Vance.
Yeah.
Yes, and we did not disavow that. But let's look at the lineup. Keep talking. How many more can you say are doing that?
Many.
And that was the point that we were making. Thank you so much, Lisa. Stacy Sims says, hi, Keisha.
Hi, Stacy.
That's your cousin?
I don't know. Maybe.
That's Sims. Yeah.
My husband's cousin.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyway, hi, Stacy, and we appreciate you listening to the show. 313-298-1027. We had to interrupt our Fashion Forward segment to get actor Hill Harper on the line because his time was very, very limited.
Well, we got to go back to Quincy because he said a lot in this Vulture interview. We were talking about how he talked about Michael Jackson and how he spoke about a lot of people who had a legacy who are no longer here to defend themselves.
He said Michael Jackson was a thief.
He said, the interview says, you worked with Michael Jackson more than anyone he has related to. What's something people don't understand about him? I hate to get into this publicly. This is Quincy. He been messy already.
Which means
you hate it and you about to read it, right? This is from, he says, but Michael stole a lot of stuff. He stole a lot of songs, and he mentioned Donna Summer's State of Independence and Billie Jean. I guess there's supposed to be a lot of similarities in the chords and all that in there. He says, the notes don't lie, man. He was a Machiavellian. I'm like, he just slaughtered. You know what that means? He's cunning, scheming. He just
shyster.
Just terrible.
Yeah. But
and then he says,
he helped.
And so the interviewer says, well, how so? He said, greedy, man, greedy. Don't stop till you get enough. He said, Greg such and such wrote the C-section. He said, Michael should have given him 10% of the song and wouldn't do it. Wow. And then he goes on to say, what about outside of music? What's misunderstood about Michael? He said, I used to kill him about the plastic surgery, man. He'd always justify it and say it was because some disease he had. BS.
Yeah, he discredited him having vitiligo, and there are
Quincy, you don't have to.
Tons of pictures that prove otherwise.
We look, and I want to just be clear. Most of America knows that, and most of the world.
And we know
ain't nobody sitting around thinking he
exactly.
Vitiligo don't mess with your nose.
Absolutely.
And your chin and your jaw. So, but I'm just saying, this man is gone, and he already died in a horrible. Well, I ain't gonna say horrible, but it wasn't.
It was horrible.
Yeah, you can't let him rest in peace.
Yeah.
He just.
Messy boots.
He was a cunning, scheming, just greedy.
But you know what? Were they friends?
Well,
we know they worked together a lot.
I believe
I would think, but
he was
I guess
more
you
like mentor, his mentor.
They work together, but I guess when you look at it, people can work together all the time and not really be.
Yeah.
So maybe they weren't.
But you wouldn't revisit working with that person if you thought they were vile and disgusting and did things you didn't agree with.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, ethical people would not.
Well,
now, keep in mind, everybody's not principled.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, sometimes it's about the money and just the deal that's going on at that particular time.
Okay.
Which goes along with what he said.
And, you know, when you go back into the lives of a lot of tycoons, you're going to find some unsavory things they've done while they were on top. And for a lot of people, that's part of the process of getting to that particular place.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't like that. I thought that was in poor taste. And then he goes on to talk about some political things. Of course, he said he's friends with the Clintons, and he asked.
But he wasn't going to dog the Clintons.
No, he didn't dog the Clintons. He said, I can't get into that. I ain't talking about that. But he did say there's some things that he does know. And the interview says, what's something you wish you didn't know? And he said, who killed Clinton? And he named who the guy was.
Who killed Kennedy?
Kennedy. I'm sorry. Oh, Lord. Yes, Kennedy. And he said,
now, I was surprised when he called the mafia out. And
called he named this man. That's look, I don't know what to
maybe he feels that he's in his sunset years of his life
anyway, so
and he can do what he chooses, to do.
But even we know that there's a code that you don't touch the mafia, and probably none of us are even related to that.
Unless even if he was a part, he still probably couldn't speak that freely.
Yeah.
Because
he named specific names.
Yeah, he named specific names. Well, he went on to talk. He just wouldn't shut up. He just had a good time in this conversation. The interviewer says, "What were the first impressions of the Beatles?" He said they were the worst musicians in the world. They were non-playing MFers. He said Paul was the worst bass player I ever heard, and Ringo, don't even talk about it.
I think there may be some legitimacy to that.
You think?
Because a musician knows another musician.
Okay, so you think the Beatles faked it?
Yeah, I think
for centuries? They ain't been around centuries, but decades?
Yeah. It was just their looks and personality got them over and so popular. But musicians know musicians.
But John Lennon could sing.
Well, he said play.
He did say
musicians.
Yeah. He did say, but I'm just saying, even still, my goodness, Paul McCartney's still alive and Ringo's still around. Leave him alone. And he didn't even attack the dead ones. He attacked the one that's living.
Like Mildred said, the live ones.
What's wrong with this man? He went on to say a bunch of stuff. Then he goes into talking about Bill Cosby. He was asked about Bill Cosby. Of course, we know he didn't touch that. He said he can't talk about that in public. So that means he got some tea, but he can't spill it on the mic. He said, I can't talk about that in public. But he goes on to say something a little more civil, and he says, if you could snap your fingers and fix one problem in the country, what would it be? And he said, racism. He said, I've been watching it a long time, the 30s to now. And he said, we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go.
And he's had a long list of non-black women he's been involved with.
Yes.
Last time I saw Quincy Jones was about 10 years ago. At the Grammys, and he had this little lady, looked like a little Asian doll, looked like she's about 19 years old. Seriously, very, 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 very young. He
swapped her out. He's got a new one.
He swapped her out?
Yeah.
Well, Ivanka was in the runnings.
When he said that he dated Donald Trump's daughter, I thought he was senile. So is this really supposed to be true?
This is true, but this is what happened. He says that she pursued him through Tommy Hilfiger. He says, yes, sir, 12 years ago, Tommy Hilfiger, who was working with my daughter, said, Ivanka wants to have dinner with you. I said, no problem. She's a fine MFer. He's a cussing something. Yeah, he says, she had the most beautiful legs I ever saw in my life, but the wrong father. So I guess he didn't pursue it much, but they did date. Who knows how far it went. But Ivanka wanted him, but he was in his 70s.
Exactly.
So what she want? What did she want?
She didn't need the money. Ha, ha, ha. What do you want to leave our listeners with today, Keisha?
It's been too much. I just wanted to promote the Flint Town Hall meeting. And for a lot of my people that are in Flint, Kedra Deal, Pastor Christopher Martin, Prayer Garden, Pastor C, you guys kind of go out Sunday and get some information on this. This is very, very important.
I ditto that. And as always, until next time, this is Cornell Jermaine. Let your soul be made whole. I'm good.
Let your soul be made whole. I want to thank you all for this fabulous Fashion Forward Friday, and I love the fact that we covered some other issues
absolutely
that are very important. Keisha Sims, Cornell Jermaine, thank you all so much.
No
see you on the radio.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit CornellJermaine.com.